Kia ora and welcome to another Anxiety New Zealand Trust tutorial. I'm Goldie from the Anxiety Helpline team, and in this tutorial I'd like to share a bit about the Rubberband Distraction Technique. People experience anxiety in a variety of ways, and for some the biggest source of distress can be intrusive negative thoughts. This might be obsessive thoughts urging you to engage in an unhelpful coping strategy, or it might be negative thoughts about yourself or the world, or perhaps it's worries about future events. With these types of thoughts, the Rubberband Distraction Technique can be a really helpful way of disrupting that train of thought and helping us move on to something more positive. So in this tutorial, I'd like to share a bit about the Rubberband Distraction Technique, and I'll be explaining why this technique is helpful in such cases and how to do the technique, and I'll also provide some extra tips at the end. Before we move on, just a reminder to like this video and subscribe for future content. And in the description below, we'll also place a link so that you can sign up for our newsletter. There are a number of important steps to the Rubberband Distraction Technique, but it's called the Rubberband Distraction Technique because a key step involves placing a rubber band around our wrist and gently snapping the rubber band back to disrupt our thoughts and jolt us into the present moment. This works in a way that's similar to someone tapping us on the shoulder and how that might disrupt our train of thoughts. So for example, if I'm making a grocery list in my head, thinking of the fruits I need to buy and the vegetables I want to buy, and someone taps me on the shoulder and says, "Never mind," I might need to start my list all over again because they've disrupted my train of thought. And so the Rubberband Distraction Technique is a way to disrupt our thoughts and replace them with something more positive. Before you get started with the Rubberband Distraction Technique, it's helpful to take a moment to think about a positive thought that you can replace the negative thought with at the end of the strategy. So if you were having negative thoughts about yourself, you may want to replace these with a positive statement about yourself. Maybe something a friend might say to you, something kind and supportive. It could be any positive thought, and just make sure that you know what that thought's going to be so that you're ready at the end of the strategy to use that positive thought and focus on it. So when you're having those negative intrusive thoughts, you place a rubber band around your wrist and you'll gently snap the rubber band back. You don't want to be doing that too hard. You don't want to hurt yourself, but it needs to be enough to disrupt your train of thoughts and jolt you back into the present moment. When you're snapping the rubber band back, you may also want to shout "stop" in your head, and then you'll count backwards from 10. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you'll focus on that positive thought we discussed a moment ago. So what you're going to do is you're going to snap the rubber band back, shouting "stop" in your head and counting backwards from 10 and focusing on that positive thought. For this technique, although it's called the rubber band technique, you don't actually need a rubber band. Instead, you could have a hair tie that you place around your wrists and snap back. It can be helpful to have the rubber band or hair tie handy and even placed perhaps around your wrist at times where you tend to get those intrusive thoughts. And if you don't have a rubber band or a hair tie, that's not a problem. You can just flick your wrist. Remember, we don't want to be doing it too hard. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We just want to have a little bit of strength there so that it's hard enough to jolt us out of our thoughts and into the present moment. And so we can focus on our positive thought. And the positive thought, as we said, could really be anything positive. So perhaps there's a positive place, somewhere that you have happy memories of, or a place you'd like to go. Whatever the thought is, just make sure you have it ready to get going with after you've done the technique. You'll find as you practice this technique more that you'll be able to shorten these stages so that at some point you may not need to count back from 10 and you may no longer need to shout stop in your head. It may be enough to flick your wrist and focus on a positive thought. And if you need support for this distraction technique or any other relaxation strategies, you can call our free 24/7 National Anxiety Helpline. The number is 0800 Anxiety, which is 0800 269 4389. Just a reminder to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe to our channel for future content. And you can also read the description below. There'll be a link there for signing up for our newsletter. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Stay positive. Bye.